I just found this out. John McCain is dead. Probably should not be that surprised. He was diagnosed with cancer last year. And this was probably going to be it for him. And someone's car alarm is on in the parking lot. That's great. I think McCain's legacy is a mixed bag. If you're going by the generalized American centrist mindset, it's a sad day. I think McCain can be commended for his stance against torture and calling out waterboarding and shit like that. But it's also got to be said that politically I strongly disagreed with him. He was a Republican. And as a Republican, he seemed to be a bit of a war hawk. I know it's not good to say this, or nice to say this, but facts are facts, yo. He was a war hawk. McCain seemed to be the type of senator that saw a war. He didn't see a war he didn't like at the end of the day. And that's fucked up. He voted for the war in Iraq. Probably voted for the war in Libya. He was a war hawk. But at least when it came to how he handled himself as a senator, he seemed to be a very respectful and good man overall in that way. I don't know if I want to say rest in peace, but there was something to respect about John McCain as a politician, and for his sacrifice that he made for his men in Vietnam. And he was brutally tortured. And that we can... I'm just taking it all in, yo. I'm just taking it all in. Rest in peace. It's a shame that the cancer got him. I should be thankful that he voted to save Obamacare in the Trump era, and he was a very staunch anti-Trump Republican, so I can give him credit for that. But to be nuanced, you also have to look at the good and the bad, and this isn't going to be like some great analysis video, but I'm just taking it all in. This is just an initial reaction video. When I read it, I was just like, holy shit. Or holy fuck or whatever. I just got out of seeing The Incredibles 2 for a second time. And then I find out this happened. It's like, damn. I guess the way to view it is, life is precious. And it's important to remember that it can be taken away at any given time. McCain was a mixed bag. Unfortunately, I would say a lot of his policies hurt a lot of people. And we just got to be real about that. But it's a shame that he's gone. And it's an era of Republicanism, I should say, that's gone. To quote President Obama, he said that McCain overall was an honorable man. And I guess there's a lot of truth in that. I guess you could say there's a few ways to look at McCain. On the one hand, as I said early on in the video, McCain seemed like the man who, when it came to war and foreign intervention, he was a politician who seemed to love war or love going to war, which I always found very, very baffling about the man. He has a very mixed legacy, and it's important to call out his failures, or at least his major flaws as a politician, because his decisions did have effects on the American. Sorry, I'm a little tipsed right now, but his decisions affected the country as a senator. You know, every politician's vote reflects something about their character, in my opinion. McCain, I always felt, had this kind of gravitas about him. You know, the name John McCain always had this resonance in America. Yeah, this man ran for president twice, became the Republican nominee, lost to Barack Obama. I always remember the election, you know, because I'm feeling nostalgic about the 2008 election. I guess I'll just wear this hat. This is my old Obama hat. I guess I'll just put the Metroid hat to the side right now. Now, this isn't really disrespectful. This is just, hopefully it'll be a way for me to just tell you how I remember the 2008 election. How I remember it was, God, I remember that. I remember the campaign office. I remember feeling kind of this feeling of we were going to win, and we did. I remember Obama's speech, but I also remember McCain's speech. I remember where I was. I listened. I just had such respect for how he carried himself as a politician. To give him credit, he seemed to fear what a moderate Republican might see as the radical right. Now, you might say he unintentionally brought that in more to the political mainstream because of his vice presidential pick of Sarah Palin. But it seemed at that moment that McCain needed to remind his voting base that this is a democracy. The loser has to acknowledge their loss. McCain took the loss like a real man. So it was very honorable the way he conceded to that election. And I will give him credit for standing up to Trump. Now, you could say his rhetoric was a bit hawkish, as what a lot of McCain's rhetoric seemed to be with foreign affairs. But you know, the more I look at the Russia thing, the more I'm swayed to the Russia did influence our election. Probably they probably did. I could go into that into a separate video, but I'll give him credit for standing up to Trump and for being the main vote that gave the finger to the repeal of Obamacare, or the repeal of the Affordable Care Act. I made a video on that, explaining how the Republicans are sabotaging their own health care law, in a sense. But I guess the real takeaway to McCain's legacy was his integrity in Vietnam. How, after all that torture, after all that hell he went through, he could have just said, fuck it, take me out. I don't think I could go through what McCain went through. That shows a sign of heroism. And that is something to always fucking respect and admire in a person. And his stance on torture, I will always give him credit on. When other Republicans during the Bush years were A-okay with using torture in Iraq, he basically told everyone to fuck off with that nonsense. The fact that he knew that was un-American. Because he had lived through that barbarism. And he knew what torture was. And if we're going to take away anything from McCain's legacy, it's that. It's that is a man who went through hell and back. And when he saw his country going through that dark side, he stood up and said, no, never. The United States will never succumb to such barbarism. We are better than that. If I want to be nuanced, you could say, well, he voted for the Iraq War, but he stood up to torture. And that's something to respect. Here's to you, Senator McCain. May you rest in peace, and may that part of your legacy always be remembered. May we recognize your flaws and relish in where you were right. I guess that's all that needs to be said. If you want a really good analysis of McCain's legacy, I'll leave you a link to a Young Turks video in the description. Live long and prosper and have a nice day.